I will call this meeting of the Clackamas County Commission to order and ask for the roll call, please.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Damon.
Here.
Commissioner Bernard.
Here.
Chair Lehan.
Here.
Commissioner Leininger.
Here.
Commissioner Savas.
Here.
And Erica Allison, representing the Housing Authority, because we're sitting as that first tonight.
Before we do that, I will invite everyone to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We didn't quite get that one around. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve the order of agenda.
Chair Lehan, I move we approve the order of the July 19th, 2012 business meeting agenda.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Damon and seconded by Commissioner Leininger that we approve the order of agenda for July 19, 2012. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0, I guess, right? Because now we will be sitting as the Housing Authority, and Erica Allison is here as a member of the Housing Authority. And I will ask the clerk, whoa, we have a new clerk,
Just
to
for
read,
tonight.
to read the Housing Authority consent agenda by title only.
Approval of an amendment to the contract with the Housing Development Center to provide owners representation services for the renovation of Eastern Ridge Apartments.
Okay. I would entertain a motion.
I move for approval.
And I'll second.
It's been moved by Board Member Allison and seconded by Board Member Leininger that we approve the Housing Authority consent agenda. Any other comments? Then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Then it is approved, I guess, 6-0. And thank you very much. With that, we will adjourn as the Housing Authority Board, and then we will convene as the Board of County Commissioners for the remainder of the meeting. And thank you, Erica, for your hard work on this role. That brings us to, we have a presentation here with Cindy Becker from Health, Housing, and Human Services on the 2012 food drive. Oh, and maybe food, I don't know.
You have to wait to see these later.
Oh, sorry.
So, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Cindy Becker, and I'm the Director of Health, Housing, and Human Services. We have some fun things to talk about today in terms of our food drive, but I first want to talk about the seriousness of hunger in the state and certainly in Clackamas County. Currently, 50 million Americans live in food insecure households, 33 million adults and 17.2 million children. Hunger is a particularly serious problem in Oregon, as you know, and it is estimated that 1 in 5 children in Oregon is food insecure, with limited or uncertain access to safe and nutritious food. Here, closer to home, record numbers of people are seeking food assistance. And I just want to let you know in terms of SNAP, which used to be the food stamp program, and it's now called SNAP. This year, there were 21,199 households that received SNAP benefits, or 44,687 individuals just in our county this year who received food stamps. This is up 5.6% over last year. The amount of money those benefits bring in to the economy is $5.7 million. But the real tragedy is that we're continuing, this increase of 5.6% is not new. We're continuing to see an increase across the state. Just for your information, 692,000 people got SNAP benefits this year. 692,000 people, a 5% increase over last year. So to say that we have a food insecurity emergency is, I don't think, not understated. 260,000 people per month ate meals from emergency food boxes. An average month, 85,800 children eat meals from emergency food boxes. And an additional 3.9 million meals have been served at soup kitchens and shelters. 33% of those receiving emergency food are children. We take this very seriously, as I know that you do. So we started 4 years ago, the department started its own food drive. And in our first year, we collected the equivalent of 15,440 pounds of food. In 2010, we collected 11,859 pounds of food. 2011, 17,284 pounds of food. And this year, we collected the equivalent of 18,481 thousand pounds of food, which is really a new record for the food drive. So over the last 4 years, our staff, your staff, have collected more than 63,000 pounds of food. This food goes to the Oregon Food Bank and helps to promote more than 25 emergency food banks in our county. And I think, the times in the economy that everyone is experiencing, our staff are experiencing it too. Yet they still are finding it within themselves, even though they do this every day, they spend, their professional lives helping people. They find it within themselves to reach in and donate more food. The other thing this year, it used to be $1, it was equivalent to 5 pounds of food, and this year $1 is equivalent to 4 pounds of food. So it doesn't go as far, but even with that, I can't tell you how proud I am, and I know you are, of the staff who have broken our 4-year record on the amount of food they have collected. Donations are what keep places like the Clackamas Service Center on Southeast 80th Avenue, the Sandy Community Action Center, the Estacada Area Food Bank, and the Colton Community Center up and running and able to feed the hungry. So this is serious, and we're really proud of the effort that your staff have taken. But on the fun note, we also hold a little competition, because we want to, kind of spur people doing this. So we have, the Foodie Award that goes to the team that donated the most food per capita, and we have the Can Do Award that has donated the most food overall, because we have divisions that are 8 people and 200 people in the department. And so we wanted to make sure that everybody got a chance to compete. So I am proud to tell you that the Behavioral Health Division, represented by Terry Beamer, want to stand up, claimed for the second year in a row, their division donated 5,000 pounds, which is more than 1/4 of the amount that was donated overall. And the Foodie Award, we have a team, the Community Development and Children, Youth, and Families team, Rod and Chuck, if you want to come up. And come on up, Chuck, because I always have to present Chuck with a tiara, which is the famous tiara for the Foodie Award.
Didn't they win last
Down
year?
on one knee.
You have to get down on one knee.
Yeah,
I love this part.
I know, but please help me up.
Yeah,
There you go.
your head is really big.
You
Anyway,
win the
thank you.
Foodie Award as often as we have.
It's the 3rd year in a row, but
Yeah, I thought you won
their
last year.
division.
Thank you, guys.
And we just want to say, and I say this every year, we do have a good time doing it, and, the joke of the month was what you get when you combine a duck and a beaver. 2-time Foodie Award winners.
That's great. All right. Thank you. Their divisions actually donated 127.8 pounds per person. So it's pretty amazing.
is.
And then last but not least, we have a chef hat decoration contest. And so we had a couple of wonderful entries, and this was the one that won. And I want to show you this. How is this incredible? Our staff, Sandra Son and Sherry Whitehead, please stand up.
Yay.
They created this, and Steve.
That is great.
So it's Steve. And so I said I would wear it, so I would do that. So here we go.
All week, Cindy?
Well, you get it because your face is on half of it, so you get to wear it for Team something.
A week.
Anyway, so on behalf of H3S, I want to thank everybody who worked incredibly hard. I know you're proud of them. This has been a difficult year for everyone, and staff do great work. So last but not least, I would like to put a challenge out next year for either any other department or for the whole county to see if the whole county can raise 50,000 pounds of food for next year. Thank you.
Thank you. For the whole meeting. The next item we have is a discussion item from Department of Employee Services, and it is an approval of a resolution valuing diversity in Clackamas County, and we have Emmett Wheatfall here, who is the county's diversity manager.
I was a little worried about the tiara. Let me begin by saying good evening. As stated, my name is Emmett Wheatfall, and I have the distinct privilege and honor to serve as Clackamas County's Diversity and Inclusion Manager. It is with great pride I present to you this evening the resolution entitled Valuing Diversity in Clackamas County. This resolution represents the careful and thoughtful work of the county's employee-based Diversity Advisory Council. If those folks are here today, if they would just stand for a moment, we'd like to acknowledge them. The Community-Based Diversity Leadership Council, if any of those folks are here, if they would stand just for a moment, please.
Got 1, 2.
As well as staff from other areas of the county government and service. All of us have worked diligently and in partnership to promote the importance diversity plays in establishing a welcome and inclusive county culture. Passing this resolution will further add to, affirm, and strengthen the county's longstanding commitment to equal employment opportunity and affirmative action. More importantly, it says to our employees and the citizens of Clackamas County for whom we serve, Clackamas County is a wonderful place to live and work. Thank you for your time this evening and the thoughtful consideration you've given to the resolution before you.
Approve it and then read it? Read it and approve it. Does the commission have any clarifying questions of Mr. Wheatfall?
I have a question, but a comment. Should we do comments
Okay,
afterwards?
Well, we can do comments after we
Okay.
pass it probably, and then we will read it. I guess that would be the way to go. So I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution valuing diversity in Clackamas County.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the resolution valuing diversity in Clackamas County.
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bernard and seconded by Commissioner Savas that we approve the resolution valuing diversity in Clackamas County. Is there discussion on this item, Commissioner Damon?
I just had a couple comments. I'm just very proud and pleased that as a commission, we are at this point where we have the resolution before us. Thank you so much to the Diversity Advisory Council and the Diversity Leadership Council. I know that you've been meeting for 3 years, more than 3 years, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so, I'm glad that we have these recommendations in front of us as a part of this resolution. I think that, several points of the resolution that I'm particularly proud of is the recognition that, as you had said, the county is a place that's big enough for everybody. And when we think about the definitions of diversity, we often think about race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, gender, age. And some of the items that we've added in our resolution that you'll hear when we read it include geographic diversity, which we know in our county is very important. You know, the rural parts of our county have a culture unique to them, and that's a diversity that we need to honor. And also political philosophy, political perspective, that's a kind of a diversity. And those items are included in our resolution. And I just think that's really speaks to the kind of county that we have and the uniqueness of who we are. So I thank you for all your work, and I look forward to reading this so everybody can hear what it has to say.
Read it after or? No? Sure.
So, one of the things that I think has been really, has really left an impression on me as in my time as a Clackamas County Commissioner was during the time when we were hearing simultaneously from community members who are concerned about light rail, and that's very legitimate, and I'm glad people are coming to voice their opinion. And we were also hearing about from people who wanted to have us prioritize investment in domestic violence prevention services and child abuse prevention services as we were formulating the budget. And there was one meeting that we had where some representatives of a group called Los Niños Quentin came to the meeting, and that's a culturally specific provider of services to domestic violence survivors and people who are Spanish speakers. And not only did they come and they brought several members and survivors to testify about why this was important, but the ladies who testified all spoke in Spanish through an interpreter, which was, in my experience, the very first time that had happened while I was a county commissioner. It doesn't happen a lot, but these ladies were noting that, look, you know, our needs are important, our children are important. We encourage you, board, to invest in services to protect our families as you make the next budget. And that was powerful and wonderful. But the other thing that was powerful and wonderful was that after each one of these ladies came and testified for the first time before us in Spanish, in an emotional way through an interpreter, you know what the folks who are concerned about light rail did? They applauded each time. Because we in this county may be divided and have differing views about what good government expenditures look like and what the right way to invest in transportation looks like, but there is a common denominator that we share, which is respect for people from all walks of life and the desire to see everyone treated with dignity and protected and kept safe. And I thought, you know what, bingo, that is who we are as Clackamas County, and we are finding our way forward through some difficult controversies in terms of the role of government. But you know, what a wonderful thing that through all of that difference, people will openly and enthusiastically share respect for one another. And so I think one of the neat things about this resolution is that it makes concrete the fact that that's who we are, and there is room for every kind of perspective in Clackamas County, and it's a welcoming place. And though it can be messy at times and kind of challenging to be a commissioner in that diverse environment, sometimes that is our strength, and that is what's going to give us the ability to see problems and solve problems and devise solutions in a more creative way than if we didn't have this kind of diversity and this kind of robust discussion of issues. So I think this is an important moment.
Any other comments?
Well, you know, we all are pretty busy, and I'd just like to thank Jamie, the Chair Leanne, and Commissioner Leininger for working on this issue. Appreciate your hard work.
And my comment would be, when I, shortly after I came on, I attended one of the first, diversity training sessions. We had diversity training. And I'll admit, they gave the order of diversity awareness or something. There's kind of stages of, there are 5 or 6 stages. And I recognized myself at a fairly low stage of, what do we even need to do this for? And but clearly the training was very eye-opening for me in terms of recognizing how important it is to understand diversity or try to understand other people's perspectives, and whether you're in the dominant culture or not. I think if you look at at diversity in this very broad sense, each of us are in some kind of minority where we feel like we're the only one who thinks this way or feels this way or has these circumstances. And so being more sensitive to the diversity around us, I think is really important, looking at other people's perspectives. And I have come to believe this is very valuable training in moving people along on that continuum. And and with that, I don't know, do you want to make any comments?
I just, I too am, proud to be moving this forward. I just want to just kind of clarify for some folks, and in the first whereas, that I don't want people to think that what we have down here is limited to just this. And I think when it speaks to the last line, the other life experiences, that there are many, as we kind of spoke to today, there are many aspects and diversities that are not recognized here. This is really a summary of some of the top ones, but because I do believe that some of those are quite abstract, and but sometimes they're very apparent when we deal with people and we have our different beliefs and understandings, and it can be very divisive, and it really shouldn't be. So again, I'm kind of happy that we're moving this forward and sending a message out there that all viewpoints, all opinions, all races, all ethnic beliefs, religious, otherwise, are welcome and accepted in this county.
Very well said, Commissioner.
And with that, do you want to read the
I'd love to read it.
resolution? Yes, okay.
Whereas Clackamas County is home to a diverse array of residents whose perspectives are shaped by their race, ethnicity, residents in rural or urban areas, language, sexual orientation, gender, age, veteran status, political philosophy, disability, and other life experiences, and whereas Clackamas County is a big place, larger than Rhode Island, where there is room for people of all backgrounds and perspectives, and whereas Clackamas County draws strength from its diversity in terms of our ability to solve problems, understand different perspectives, and meet the needs of local businesses, small cities, and rural communities, and whereas Clackamas County residents differ in many ways, but we share the values that people should be treated fairly and with dignity, that residents of all backgrounds should be safe and have the opportunity to thrive, and that all customers of county government should receive the best customer service possible. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners have requested input of a community advisory group called the Diversity Leadership Council and an employee advisory group called the Diversity Advisory Council on how to improve customer service and access to opportunity for residents of our large, diverse county. And whereas Clackamas County is committed to providing the best service possible to our customers and a work environment in which employees from all backgrounds feel welcome and have an opportunity to succeed based on their merit. Therefore, be it resolved that, number one, the Board of County Commissioners establishes as a key priority the goals of striving for high-quality customer service and equal access to opportunity to people of all backgrounds who live in or do business in Clackamas County, including but not limited to people who live in rural areas, people from historically disadvantaged groups, English language learners, seniors, youth, and veterans. Number two, the board directs staff to take the following steps to ensure Clackamas County provides excellent service and fair access to opportunity. Point A, continue to support and recognize the leadership of the DLC and the DAC as a valuable resource for departments in implementing this resolution. B, evaluate and consider moving the current diversity manager position within the Department of Employee Service to an executive level position with authority spanning departments to ensure that support for diversity excellent customer service, and fair access to opportunity is integrated into planning and implementation throughout the organization. C, conduct an internal review of departments to assess preparedness to meet the needs of our diverse customers and identify steps for improvement and implementation, which may begin with self-assessments and pilot projects. D, identify and include multilingual information on the Clackamas County website and signage in county buildings to assist English language learners in accessing the services they need. E, include a diversity training module in the regular training that county managers receive. F, allow county employees to create affinity groups on a voluntary basis so that employees can develop camaraderie and get to know one another as desired within the workplace. G, further develop a multilingual capacity to help customers communicate with other county staff to meet their needs. H, integrate our diversity values into the hiring process to help indicate that support for diversity is a core value of the Clackamas County workplace. I, conduct regular Board of County Commissioner Town Hall meetings in rural Clackamas communities and other parts of the county to make it easier for residents who lack easy access to Oregon City to provide input to the county commissioners regarding their needs and ideas. Number 3, the board directs staff to report back in November 2012 with a plan, timeline, and budget for implementing next steps and conducting this work in a cost-neutral manner that utilizes existing staff wherever possible. The board recognizes staff needs to integrate this work with other pressing matters. And then finally, this work is valuable, but it does not have to be expensive.
One of our bigger resolutions, I believe. Thank you very much. And with that, all those in favor of approving this resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0 and is unanimous. And thank you, Mr. Wheatfall, for reading that. Now I've lost my thing. And I believe that brings us to citizen communication. This is an opportunity to address the board on items that are not on the agenda or on items that are on the agenda but not scheduled for public comment. And I will just say I only have 2 cards, so if there are other cards, they should be passed forward. And given to the clerk. And there should be more cards at the back if you are interested in speaking. And the first 2 cards I have are John Ludlow and David Gray. And then after that, I have Les Poole and Mariana Moore.
Thank you. Hello, John Ludlow, candidate for Clackamas County Chair. My information is on the sheet I submitted. I know it sounds like a familiar theme, but again, I'm here to talk a little bit about the disconnect between the commission and the public. You know, after the Sellwood Bridge vote, when your allies spent $150,000 to stop the yes vote on the Sellwood Bridge, you lost. You never said much about it, and that's okay, I guess. Urban renewal, you not only had some friends helping to fight it, but you submitted a companion measure, which also technically lost, even though it got over 50%. The correct urban renewal passed, urban renewal measure. You didn't say much about that, and that's understandable. I don't know why it is that the commission feels that the public shouldn't vote on items. We all hear about, you're elected to make the tough decisions, but this is money,
big money, and now the rail. So I'm here again to ask you that since you know it's going to pass big, then why don't you just put it on the ballot in November? You have the opportunity. Put it on the ballot in November and let's be done with it. This is going to pass and require you to do that eventually if you want light rail in the county. And go ahead and do that voluntarily in November. It'd be much easier on you, I think. The last thing I want to talk about is the regionalism that you've all subscribed to, or most of you have subscribed to. And, you know, I grew up in Clackamas County, and we had an actual lot. It was 10,000 square feet, considered fairly small in the 50s and 60s. And now you ascribe to Metro's plan to 12 to 15 units per acre, basically bunker houses, 3-story high. And that's the way you want Clackamas County citizens to raise their children, is on postage stamps or in 3-story high-rises. That's not a way to raise children, and I think most of the Clackamas County citizens agree with that. Yet you subscribe to it and you've limited the land so much that the costs are enormous to develop them. Your overregulation has aided in that cost. So, you know, I think there's a lot of people in Clackamas County would like to just lose Metro and like you to lose it voluntarily, but I don't see that happening either. So you see, you're kind of stuck here. You're in a way here, and you've never apologized for being wrong. And that's okay, because that'll be done at the ballot box. But perhaps you should take into consideration that the citizens don't want some of what you're leaning towards and what you ascribe to and what you back. I think that's been evident twice, and it'll be evident after September 18th. Thank you.
I'm David Gray. I live in Oak Grove. The last time I was here, I said something about the light rail project. I observed that there seemed to be a big gap between those in favor of the Orange Line extension through Milwaukee into Park Avenue. A gap between the assumptions of those in favor of it and those opposed, or those in favor of it seemed to assume that if the measure 3401 passed, it would and could only affect new projects, not the Orange Line project, which the county was committed to. Those opposed to the project seem to assume that if the measure passes, it will be able to stop this current project. And I asked at that time, what was the county's legal position on that? Because at that point, I hadn't heard anything. So I posed that question to the county board at that time, and there was no answer forthcoming on that occasion. This was about 2 months ago. But within a matter of days, there was a position stated, which I can't quote, but essentially, I believe it said that the county is committed to the current Orange Line extension, and the measure, if passed, could only affect new projects. Given that, if so, my new question is, will that position be stated clearly in the voters' pamphlet? I don't know what the status of the writing of the voters' pamphlet is. I haven't kept up on that. I'm not sure to what extent the commissioners are involved in that, but I just want to point out that it's extremely important that that position be stated because it might affect how some people vote. I dug out an old voters pamphlet from 2010, and I have a ballot measure that was in that pamphlet. And apparently this is a standard format for countywide ballots. Starts out with sentences, result of yes vote, result of no vote. That's where that statement should be made, in my opinion, that I don't have to give you a phrase, but the yes will affect only new projects. That's the key thing. The second standard item is the summary, and it could be elaborated on a little bit more in the summary. The next thing is the text of the measure, which of course does not state anything about that because it was the petitioners, I think, who actually wrote the text. And then at the end, there's something called the explanatory statement, in which the county could, at whatever length it wanted to, explain the legal position it has come out with. I just urge the county commissioners to pay attention to this because it may affect how some people vote. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. As I said, the next two are Les Poole and Mariana Moore, and after that, Eugene Schoenheit and Mac Woods.
Madam Chair, sorry for the
ahead.
interruption, but may I ask legal counsel or the administrator if there was an explanatory statement submitted today by the deadline?
There was an explanatory statement submitted today by the deadline. It was drafted both in conjunction by Eric Winters, the attorney for the petitioners, and Attorney Scott Sedaris with County Counsel's office. It was submitted to the clerk's office on the requisite form prior to the 5 o'clock deadline. The statement is supposed to be by statute fair, understandable, and impartial, and that is what it is.
I think just to get to Mr. Gray's question, I think really that there's a difference of opinion on whether or not it applies to this particular orange line or not. So I don't think it's fair for anyone to opine on that because I think that'll be settled after the vote. That's my guess. But it's very difficult to state something when there's no assured, there's no agreement on that matter. Is there anything that's contrary to that statement? In that explanatory statement that's contrary? I mean, we don't establish a position on that?
We have not speculated on the outcome of legal challenges, correct, or the scope of the measure.
Okay. I'm Mariana Moore from Gladstone, and I'm here because of a problem we had this morning. We went online onto your website to look for the agenda for this morning because when it was decided that we would have meetings in the evening, it would be the third meeting of the month, and Chair Leanne was very specific at the time that you would not be having a meeting the week of 4th of July, and that the evening meeting would be on the 26th of July. It was very clear. We have the recordings. So we came this morning. We're all ready for a meeting. The doors are locked and there's no notice. Why they're not there? Because your agenda on the website says 10 o'clock this morning. It remained still saying 10 o'clock this morning at 3 this afternoon. So I'd like to know who's responsible for making this kind of a statement. We wrote out some of this. Numerous citizens arrived, and we look around and where's everybody, you know? This is 10 o'clock on Thursday morning. There should be a commission meeting, a council meeting this morning. And one of the other people that works here said, oh, well, it's at 5:30 tonight. So apparently, this meeting has not been properly noticed, and it's likely being held in violation of the Oregon public meeting laws. And the citizens find this type of oversight very troubling. And I don't know where you stand on this or what you're planning to do this evening in light of the fact that it was not properly noticed.
Well, first of all, the first I heard of this was sometime about 5 o'clock today. So I don't have any details on it. I do know two things. One is what we're trying to do is have a meeting on the third Thursday of the month, not the third meeting of the month, but the third Thursday, because that will come and go depending on holidays and things like that. We'll look into the notice of this, but I did have someone on the staff, actually, I didn't assign that, I just found her doing, kind of culling through our notices, and we didn't find anything contrary to saying that this meeting was at 5:30 today. So I'd be interested, and we'll have to do a little more investigatory work as to just where that notice was. But what she was finding was, no, it said 5:30 today. So we'll try to get some clarity on this, but again, we've only had a very short time on this. But for future reference, please understand what we're aiming to do is the third Thursday, not the third meeting, but the third Thursday of the month.
What happens when there's other dates that are not going to be available, like the 4th of July that changes things and other holidays and such?
Well, those stand alone. Those don't change. It's only about the third Thursday for this evening meeting.
Well,
Those may come and go depending on holidays.
so they would just cancel the evening meeting then?
They would not, no. Let me
On
explain this.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
And
It was on
most likely
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving is the fourth Thursday.
Oh,
the
well,
way I
there you
learned
go.
it.
Now
But
see,
if Thanksgiving was
we're
the
on
third
third
Thursday, we
Thursday.
wouldn't have this meeting, just like if the 4th of July was a first Thursday, which I think it was this year, or something like that, then we would either cancel the meeting or reschedule the meeting. You can do that as well.
And I apologize for any confusion. We are new at this changing venue, and I don't know where the confusion occurred. I mean, not changing venue, but the changing times from week to week. And it certainly is easiest for everyone if a meeting is at the same place, the same time, the same over and over and over again. But we're trying to be flexible, and this is a new experience. And as we said from the beginning, we expect to have some glitches along the way and things that we'll decide we don't like the way we're doing this, that, or the other thing and change it. But it was certainly unintentional if there was the confusion on it.
Correct. Our intentions are entirely honorable to conduct a regularly noticed meeting at the proper time. And again, for these meetings, again, this is only the second one we've had. It'll be the third Thursday of each month, unless there's a holiday or some other reason for not having that meeting, which we should note several weeks in advance, hopefully.
I was just going to say, I appreciate you apologizing, and I extend my apologies as well to the two of you and to anybody else that
There were
showed up
quite a
at
few.
10 o'clock. I
There
mean,
were
that's just a terrific inconvenience. I know that people have taken time out of their day to come and be with us, and we will definitely get this remedied and ensure that the future meetings are properly noticed. And if there is an issue in the notification of this meeting, we will definitely get that information out and remedy that as quickly as possible.
We will look at that. If it turns out it was improperly noticed, we'll have to find that out and then
Yeah.
take appropriate steps to remedy that. But our initial review was not that way.
And thank you for
But we'll
bringing
see.
that to our attention.
Yeah, one of the other things I thought, after we had the first one last week, where you allowed citizen communication at the beginning, which we were kind of anticipating would continue, tonight it's not. And I was wondering what the situation is on that also.
It just depends on what is on the agenda. Our goal is to get very quickly to citizen communication. We did that within 30 minutes tonight, and but when we have housing authority agendas, we always, no matter when those fall, we always do those first up because Erica does not need to sit here for the rest of the meeting, so we're sensitive to her time. But it just depends. We were trying to move through. We don't have anything that was very time taking that we knew would take a lot of time. We could control the time on those two items. Although if we decide that this was improperly noticed, it occurs to me we'll have to read the
We have
diversity.
to have a do-over.
Would read the diversity resolution at another meeting, which is okay.
Thank you, Les Poole, Oak Grove. I think that the point Marion is trying to make is not that we're here to be a bunch of lawyers. There's been a lot of jailhouse lawyering on the light rail issue and a lot of opinions about what's valid. Paul just alluded to the situation. And so when it comes to this, I think the way to circumvent confusion is on the agenda at the top of the page to put the time a little bigger, a little brighter, and make it so that if somebody glances online, it's well noted, and especially early on when we are doing evening meetings, some kind of little note on the day when it will be in the evening. I anticipate that there'll probably be some people here next Thursday at 5:30. So I'm here to make a request that the next meeting be at 5:30, and I think that'll solve part of the problem. I do appreciate that things have changed some around here. Mariana just had some good interaction. The county in general has been more responsive to questions and to citizen concerns. Somebody comes in here with an issue with their neighbor's fence line and asks you a question. We're not here to ask trick questions. We're not here to expect that you know that Commissioner Savis's tree might be dropping pine cones on his neighbor's yard, and if the neighbor shows up, that's something you should jump on in a moment. But responding to genuine questions such as what those raised by Mr. Gray, those raised by me about where are we going with light rail, where are we going to get the money, obviously some of the questions that we have about public safety, how are we going to be able to take care of the issues related to the light rail, should it make it to Park Avenue? When is the 25 million going to be on the agenda? It's my understanding September 3rd is the initial deadline to meet that commitment, and obviously you can extend it a year beyond that to try and come up with it. If indeed you're planning on I like to use the term raiding the town center urban renewal district for the money, the public needs to know that long before the November election. I just want to reiterate one thing, and that is there's been a lot of scuttlebutt about the light rail line, about how many jobs it's going to create. I'm sure some of you caught what was in PolitiFact. If you didn't, I recommend that you go to Oregon Live, and you'll see that, like so many things TriMet has done, they've overcommitted in a bad economy, they've overpromised, and I have repeatedly raised the issue of what are we getting for the 25 million that goes to extending the line beyond downtown Milwaukee, and we all know the answer. Just an obtrusive bridge over Kellogg Lake, no service at Island Station, but a looming structure over that that's on top of the trolley trail, which is, of course, a park. Once it finally touches down alongside the trolley trail, which will be dislocated and slammed up against a hillside, and we'll have a concrete retaining wall much taller than this room alongside it, it will no longer be a trail. Will it? No, it won't. Not even close. And eventually,
You need to wrap up.
I'll wrap up. And eventually we'll be at Park Avenue, where I keep hearing so much about how wonderful the station's going to be. We've yet to see one diagram of what the parking lot is going to look like. At every open house, the big massive parking structure and all of the negatives that go at the end of any light rail line or freeway are not on the agenda, and that troubles me. Thank you for the additional time.
Okay, the next cards I have are Eugene Schoenheit and Mac Woods. And then I don't have any other cards, so if someone else is intending to speak, you need to turn a card in.
Hi, Eugene Schoenheit. My address is on record here. I came to talk about financing here, but just want to make a comment, Madam Chairman. Two meetings ago, basically, you said that the meeting would be held next Thursday. I don't recall the exact date, but basically, you have made a public notice already. So that's, the first notice in your requirements, and I'd suggest you have it on next Thursday in the evening. What I came here, I just came to talk and probably point out the obvious, and I think you understand this, about unsecured debt. And, we're talking, it's already been mentioned, talking about, the light rail and the financing, and we know that's going to be about $40 million, and we're still, the public is still asking, well, how are you going to pay for this thing? We know that you made an option to purchase on the Elks as for $4 million. Again, how are you going to pay for it? Next year's budget's going to be down about 5%. That's about $40 million, and it's just, where are you going to pull the money out of the general budget? Are you going to pull out of social services or the diversity project or sheriff? Just where are you going to do that? I'd like to know. Thank you.
I want to respond. It isn't the county, it's the housing
Housing
authority.
Authority,
It's a
right.
housing authority.
In terms of the Elks Lodge, which there is no deal yet, there's been obviously talks, but there's not a deal done. But any money that goes to that would be from the Housing Authority of Clackamas County, not the general fund. So I
Yeah,
want
their
to
budget
reassure that.
is quite
Yeah, 'cause I-
separate and distinct.
Okay, wrong category, but it's still county money.
Fair question.
It's confusing because we sit as a variety of boards here, and we may be sitting as Tri-City Sewer or someone else, and those monies are not commingleable, not able to be
Yes,
commingled.
I know all about sewage, so.
I know.
And same is true with the Housing Authority.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Mac Woods from Canby, and last night at this time, I was on the other side of the Mississippi River. I got in here between midnight and 6 this morning. They have computers in Arkansas and Mississippi. It told me that there was going to be a meeting at 10 o'clock this morning. I was here. It's kind of frustrating. That's what bothers the public. What's the requirements for a commissioner? There's no one here above the law. There's no one here above the rules. The confusion alone confuses the people that's paying your salary, for goodness sakes, paying your taxes. It hasn't even been a year yet. Last October 31st, I've talked to Steve and Steve about this. Forest Grove takes steps to overturn $6.5 million judgment against the decisions that the city made. It doesn't matter if it's a city official or a county official. No one is above the law. And you can be held accountable. It doesn't give a thief a license to steal because you're in a position of making decisions. This article goes on, you should read it. It's pretty detailed, and I can't cover it in 3 minutes, but that increases the entire package of potential costs for the city of Forest Grove. It could happen in the county. Us taxpayers can't afford it. To $8 million. The city insurance has $5 million cap. That could leave the city paying $3 million if it can't prevail in court. They're trying to turn it over so they don't have to pay it. The judge also said, going beyond that, the people that made the mistake has to pay for it out of their pocket. Can you afford to pay a fee like that if you make mistakes? We need to stop making irresponsible mistakes for the taxpayers in Clackamas County and quit costing me and thousands of others a lot of money. There's no excuse for ineptness. Potential for a wide impact. The ruling, if it stands, could have a chilling effect on other cities and county government agencies who apply development codes. You're over the the planning board that makes these rules. Do you not know that? It's good to make you should make wise, intelligent, legal decisions. Depending on what side of the courtroom you're sitting on, that could be good or bad news. Where do we stand in the county? We want someone that can represent us legally, honestly, and do a job for the public that you represent. It bothers me, particularly when I'm on the other side of the Mississippi River trying to do what's right for the help out. I'm just one of many. But whenever you can't even get the cotton picking rules right on when a meeting is, it tells me there's room for improvement. If you can't handle it, please step aside. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, and I don't have any other cards. So with that, I will ask for move on to the consent agenda, and I will ask the clerk to read the consent agenda by title and remind people that those items are available on the web, or should be. We've recently updated the web, that is another thing, in an effort to make it more accessible to everyone. But every time you make a change like that, there are always bugs that we have to work out. So, but everything should be on the web if you want to see any of these in greater detail. And we'll just read them by title.
Under Health, Housing, and Human Services, approval of Amendment Number 1 to Agreement Number 27663 with Oregon Department of Transportation for Federal 5310 Transportation Program funds for a new bus for the Catch a Ride program. Approval of an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with Multnomah County to provide funding for a regional liaison to Region 1. Approval of an agreement between Clackamas County, Sandy Workforce Housing Limited Partnership, and Northwest Housing Alternatives to use home program funds to develop affordable multifamily rental housing. Approval of a professional, technical, and consultant service contract with Oregon Family Support Network to provide peer support services. Approval of an intra-agency agreement with Clackamas County Children, Youth, and Families Division for alcohol and drug prevention strategies to young adults with substance use disorders. Approval of an intra-agency agreement with Clackamas County Children, Youth, and Families Division for alcohol and drug prevention strategies to work with families with within Clackamas County. Approval of a professional, technical, and consultant service contract with Iron Tribe for peer support services. Approval of a professional, technical, and consultant service contract with Youth Move Oregon Family Support Network to provide peer support services. Approval of an amendment number 4 to the intergovernmental agreement with the State of Oregon, Oregon Health Authority for the Adult Mental Health Initiative. Approval of amendment number 11 to the intergovernmental agreement with the State of Oregon, Oregon Health Authority for a community mental health program in Clackamas County. Under Department of Transportation and Development, approval of amendment number 1 to the intergovernmental agreement with Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife for a full-time fish and wildlife biologist liaison for transportation maintenance services. Approval of intergovernmental agreement number 28851 with Oregon Department of Transportation for 2012 Emergency Relief Program project funding. Under elected officials, approval of previous business meetings minutes. Under Department of Emergency Management, approval of a revised intergovernmental agreement for landslide hazard mapping and risk assessment project. And that concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you. I would ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda.
And I will second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bernard, seconded by Commissioner Leininger, that we approve the consent agenda. Any comments on any of these items? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0 and is unanimous. And with that, I will ask if there is a county administrator update
Yes,
today.
just a couple things. And at first, I think we should talk a little bit about the timing for next week's meeting. And let's again clarify, and I hope this is clear. The timing of the meetings are 10 a.m. on Thursdays, except for the third Thursday of the month, not the third meeting of the month, the third Thursday, which will be at 5:30 in this room. The other meetings are in the Public Services Building. I know a couple citizens mentioned the idea that perhaps we should have the meeting at 5:30 next week because there's confusion apparently about that happening. Unless the board takes an affirmative step to ask us to have it at 5:30, I need to say that officially the meeting will be scheduled for 10 a.m. and we will redouble our efforts to get some notice out on the web and otherwise explain that it's at 10 a.m. next Thursday, unless the board feels that we should aim for 5:30. But I would suggest getting on that regular schedule would just be more confusing probably if we suddenly had the fourth Thursday at 5:30. And we will also look into, as I said earlier, about just how this was noticed. We'll work with County Counsel's office to ensure that it was noticed properly. If not, we'll have to come up with a corrective action. So that's
Repeat it.
thing one. Is there any board interest in moving it to 5:30 next week?
I just think it would be more confusing.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
afraid of.
and
Yeah.
the other problem with it is that we tend to have a fuller business agenda in the day
Right.
and we try to keep the business piece limited in the evening meetings. So it's an adjustment of the agenda as well. And I don't know right, sitting here right now, what is on the agenda for next Thursday.
I think it's pretty
If it's
full.
pretty full,
Yeah.
because you see, we didn't have a whole lot of business items on the evening meeting because we're shifting them to the other,
We're trying to as
trying to
much
shift them into the others
yeah,
so that we
right.
have more time for citizen communication in the
So
evening.
with that, let's make sure we're all speaking. We're 10 o'clock next week, so there's no confusion. And we'll try to get some web page notice, et cetera, out on that, and redouble our efforts that way. Second thing I want to mention is why the shirts. why are we like this? This is, at least some of us like me. It's Employee Appreciation Week, and we try to do some simple things that allow employees, because we have over 2,000 permanent and temporary employees in a variety of sites throughout a fairly large county, and some things to bond together. And so 1 week a year, we have a day where they can wear their favorite athletic team shirt. Hawaiian shirt was today, that's why the shirts. And the final thing is, just to note that last week, Yvonne Lazarus had some questions about Elks Lodge and North Clackamas Park and Recreation District's role, if there was any in the Milwaukee planning process for the trolley trail. And we did send an email on both issues back to her.
Okay.
Madam Chair, just want to inject a little bit of information just to consider as far as a meeting agenda. I find out about this meeting notification mix-up late this afternoon, and followed by a phone call saying, I'm looking at the screen and it says it right now, it's 10 o'clock. And so they could kind of describe the page to me, and granted, it's a new page because we've updated our website. So by the time that I completed my drive to here, and I walked in the building, and we got up to the floor, and I mentioned it to the staff, and they looked at it, brought up the website, and realized that the site had just been updated for next week's meeting posting.
Okay.
So I wasn't able to, and staff wasn't able to visibly see, but apparently we had, one of our staff members had just updated the site at around 4:30, 4 o'clock, somewhere in that time frame. So, and so anyhow, I've gotten a couple people that have said something quite similar. So I think that it might be more appropriate not to really update the website until the meetings occurred.
Yeah,
For example, that someone looking at the website at 5 o'clock could look and say, okay, the meeting is at 5:30 today.
So
If that's what indeed what it said. And that after the meeting is completed, it would seem logical that the website would then be updated to reflect the next meeting. So a decision today, for example, should we meet at 5:30 next Thursday, or should we meet at 10, could actually be less confusing. Should we actually do it at 5:30, which I would probably tend to advocate for if we did indeed announce it on July or June 26th, that we indeed said we'd have it on, or whatever day it was, that we would do it on next Thursday. So, but now if we have conflicting notification, or at least on the website currently, that now it says 10 o'clock on July 26th, that just adds to it. But it just seems inappropriate for us to, before the meetings occurred, to erase the notification on the
Here's why
website.
that happens, and I understand the problem with that. The problem is, after this meeting happens, we're not at work again officially till Monday. So you would go the whole Friday through Sunday without that, unless I bring someone in on extra time to do that. That's why I think in good faith they were trying to get ready so it was geared up. But I agree, ideally, it's problematic to do that before that happens. This is the new situation with having a 5:30 meeting on Thursday. Yes.
Is there a way to post the meeting notification remotely if it's all ready to go?
I'm not sure, but probably that's what we'll have to look into.
Yeah, so I think,
Yeah.
because I agree with Commissioner Savas
Yeah,
that
I
it is
understand that.
confusing. You know, people may, depending on how their day goes, they may want to look at the website to see what's on the agenda to come later, and if it's already been changed and updated, and they
Been
don't
changed
know.
before it happens.
Exactly,
Yeah,
so
it.
that's really not okay. So I would appreciate you also looking into the ability to do it remotely. I mean, if it's all queued up and it's a matter of,
Couple keystrokes or
Exactly,
something.
yeah.
I
That's,
guess-
that's the situation that I think was happening, though. I think in good faith, they were trying to get ready for the week, and the problem is, that was always fine when the meetings were at 10, not so much at 5.
Right, and the other comment that I heard following our last evening meeting in June was, and it was like the week afterwards, it was very unfortunate that some people that routinely watch the meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning live, when we're actually in the meeting, obviously, we move it to 5:30, they can't watch it, but not to be able to have, the replays available until Monday. It took about 3 days or 4 days, so that normally the meeting would be on the cable channel available for viewing, and on the website available for downloading, I believe. And so there were some comments about that. There's very limited opportunity to listen to this meeting. So this meeting's not live, and people aren't going to be able to watch this till Monday or Tuesday.
Same situation, again, you know, it's a
It's gone.
consequence of the 4-day week.
So another little conundrum, but I do think, just for those out there, I think it appears to be an honest mistake as far as the notification, that we had conflicting notifications, which I trust from the person who called me that indeed that there was a misposting by accident, so.
It could be that we could post 2 weeks ahead, you know, just for the.
Might have separate postings, you know,
Separate
not,
postings.
not remove the current one.
Not
but put
remove the
second one.
current one until Monday,
Yeah.
but go ahead and post the following one on Thursday and make clear that it's for the, it's not for today,
Don't be
it's for the
confused.
other one.
Well, just to add, I was actually, earlier in the week surprised, I forgot that it was this Thursday. And then I got the agenda, and on the very, very top of the agenda, in bold, it says Thursday, July 19th, 2012, 5:30 PM, Board of County Commission Board Meeting. So it's quite prominent and bold and underlined, and I think that part of is fine. It's just that other part, but.
Well, somehow, somewhere, it
Got
didn't get
posted
that.
incorrectly somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not doubting that.
Okay, that would bring us to Commissioner Communication, and would anyone like to begin on Commissioner Communication?
Well, I guess I'll just jump in. I think that it was earlier about the discussion about the Elks Lodge, I think it was appropriate for the administrator to point out that it's not the county that's going to borrow the money. It's not the county that's seeking the acquisition of the Elks Lodge, that it's the Housing Authority. I think that's fair. But coming out of the meeting that was held recently where there was a unanimous decision not to sell it by a group, but but coming out of that was discussion is that, yes, we did agree to sell the building to the county. And I'm distinguishing the county, that we did agree to sell to the county in somewhat anticipation or hope that it would be used for some economic development or a community center type of thing. So I think on one hand, if we distinguish that, on one hand, that the purchase or the acquisition is on the Housing Authority, on the same token that if we use and tell people, well, it was the Elks Lodge that approached the county, I think they did indeed approach the county. I don't think they did approach the Housing Authority. So I think we should distinguish those two and realize that on some people's minds, which was brought to my attention last week, that distinction has created some confusion, and the end use is something I think that in the public process we have forthcoming, if there is an acquisition process, that we clarify that and determine what the community's interest was, or even what the Elks Lodge interest was. Did they approach the county or did they approach the Housing Authority? That's all I have.
Okay. You want to go? Sure.
I am going to share some information with you about two people who worked and volunteered very closely with Clackamas County who recently passed away, and so I'd like to honor and recognize them for a second. Barbara Tanner and Dolly Stillwell both made really significant contributions to the county through their service in our human services arena. Barbara Tanner worked for the county for over 15 years as an employee and also as a volunteer, and Dolly Stillwell served as a volunteer on the Community Health Council and served as the secretary on that board for a long time. They both gave a lot of time and a lot of themselves to help fragile people, needy people in our community make their way, and they have both recently passed on. And so I hope you'll join me in honoring their memory and their contribution. And thank you to their families if you watch this for your loved one's service.
Great, thanks. It was mentioned tonight about the county, working with the metro region and supporting I think it's so many housing per acre, 12? Well, anyway, one of the things that I thought was important there is that, some people won't want to live in that kind of housing. Believe me, they never would. And some people will because that it's affordable and it's a great thing. And I live in Villebois, which is in Wilsonville. And it's interesting to note that when it was built, many of those same people said no kids would ever live here. No families would live here. Well, the other day, they had a big picnic in the parking lot, inviting all the children, and there had to have been 200 children. And every household, all the new houses, well, we're all new houses, but ours is about 4 years old. All the new houses have new families. And I was counting the tennis shoes on the doors. Lots of people leave their shoes at the doors. And I was noticing the size is getting smaller. And it's amazing, but it is a fantastic community with a lot of opportunity for families. And it amazes me today that just a few years ago, the comment was families will come here. That almost every household has children, except for some of those who have been there longer. That kind of community it has a lot of support opportunity for kids. There's a little park next door. Thanks to urban renewal, we have sprinklers in our homes, and we're all safe, much safer. When I look up, I can see the sprinkler head. I just feel extremely safe at a low cost to all the homeowners who did pay for it. And little parks that invite tons of children. And it's just a fantastic community, one that most communities would aspire to, and one that won a national award. And one that Chair Lehan had a large role in the creation of and development of that community. And I'm proud of it. I have not run into a single person in that neighborhood that does not love it and just absolutely love it. Matter of fact, my brother moved down 1 block from me, and he has 2 kids and a dog, and he just loves it. So I think the important thing here is that there needs to be a variety of housing throughout the county, and the county does not aspire to 12 houses per acre. And however, there are people who like that stuff. And so having a variety of housing opportunities is very important. But what's more important is that, that it's attractive, safe, and an opportunity to families to grow. Where I live in Villebois is actually one of those that the goal is that your kids will grow up there, you will age in place, and many of the homes have master bedrooms on the first floor, so you can, live there the rest of your life. And your kids can move on and probably buy a house a block away. But that's a great opportunity to live your life in a community that offers a lot of community support, neighborhood support. And so variety is the spice of life.
Okay.
I have 4 things. They're all fairly quick. The first is regarding the evening meetings. Commissioner Savas didn't get into the detail of some of what we heard after our last evening meeting was when we asked people to fill out comment forms and give us some feedback. A lot of the forms said a later start time would be better, and it was specifically suggested that we should start at 7 o'clock so that it's easier for people to get here after work, so it doesn't interfere with the dinner time. And so I would propose that we consider that as a board about having our August meeting start at 7 o'clock. I also would propose that we start have our meetings. I like this format because it's informal, but I think it does. I had some conversations with our video crew after the last meeting, and I do share Commissioner Savas's concern about the lag in showing the video footage. And so I would like to have these evening meetings be back over at the Public Services Building. So for us to consider that. There was just we received a lot of comments about those two things. So maybe we can talk about that at our study session next week. And I just wanted to put that out there to be responsive to all the comments that I'd received, because I specifically was asking for people's comments about that. So I just wanted to put that out there. The second is with regard to the diversity resolution. It was lengthy, and I'm really glad, that we had so much to say about this resolution. But I did want to underscore, because it is kind of related to the evening meetings, it is Section 2, letter I, where it says, "Conduct regular Board of County Commissioner Town Hall meetings in rural Clackamas communities and other parts of the county to make it easier for residents who lack easy access to Oregon City to provide input to the county commissioners regarding their needs and issues." And I'm very pleased to see this in the resolution. I'm very pleased to see the commitment of our commission of 5-0 to support this. And so I think that really also demonstrates that we've been hearing what people have said about us providing more access. And I know at our study session next Tuesday, we're going to be talking about a little more specifically about the format and the topics of these town halls. And I would personally appreciate any feedback people have about topics, locations, just as we're talking through how to structure these, how many a year, all of that. I mean, I welcome any feedback people might have, so we can make these meetings really worthwhile out in the communities. So that's my second one. My third is that yesterday, I had the good fortune to have a tour of the locks, the Willamette Falls locks. People might not know this about me, some of you may, as I'm a bit of a history junkie. I'm the president of my historic society out in Eagle Creek, and so I'm really interested, as is Chair Lehan, in preserving this treasure that is the Willamette Falls locks. And so I got a tour of the locks, and I learned a few interesting things about it, just to heighten people's awareness about this unique feature that we have right here in Clackamas County in Oregon City, that these locks are the oldest of its type in the country. They were built in 1873. It's a Leonardo da Vinci design, which apparently is quite unique to the United States, and so people come from around the world to come and look at this particular design. It's one of the oldest of this type that's still used for commerce. There are locks that are, I don't know, of this age or maybe a little newer, but they're used primarily for recreation, and this one is being used for commerce. Currently, it's closed because of some safety issues, some additional repair that needs to occur on the Grungen anchors, I think I'm pronouncing it right. There were significant dollars that were put into the locks as a part of the Recovery Act dollars, but it wasn't quite enough to keep it open, and there are some inspection issues, and there you go. But we are working hard to try to preserve this. Some of the folks on the tour included former Governor Kulongoski and members of the National Trust. Is that right, Charlotte? The National Trust, who's looking at this?
Right, as a
national treasure.
Yeah, an endangered.
An endangered place.
Place, yes.
Yeah,
An
as on a
endangered
national level.
Historic place or
Right.
something, I can't
Which
remember.
is
They have their
significant.
endangered list.
Which is really significant. So
On a
I just
national
wanted to
level,
raise
yeah.
people's awareness of the stature of the locks and the work that we're doing to get smarter about it and be more aware. And the last thing I have, if you've noticed me looking at my BlackBerry, it's not that I'm checking my text or email. I was trying to make sure I had the specifics about the Malino Blueberry Pancake Breakfast that happens this weekend, July 21st and the 22nd, Saturday and Sunday. It's held out at the Malino Airport. Breakfast is served from 7:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Adults eat for $8, children eat for $6. I attended last year with my husband, and the food was fantastic, huge platters. Really interesting small planes of all vintages. And last year, they even offered helicopter rides. So if you have never been in a helicopter, you may want to come out and support the Hamlin and Malino and the airport out there with their blueberry pancake breakfast. So
7:30 to 1?
to 1, yeah. I'll be out there on Saturday morning. That's all I have.
They have some really neat planes.
Really neat planes, yeah.
And I think they have afternoon activities as
Oh, do
well on, with other things that start at noon. But, and my notice, because I had that on mine also.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Also says antique cars, motorcycles, and airplanes. So if any
go.
of those things float your boat, apparently there's no boats,
You can't
but these other things,
Bungee jumping from 35,000 square
It
feet.
says come by plane or car, but you can go by motorcycle
or motorcycle.
or bicycle or
Exactly.
walk.
Okay, all I have is to remind you of the many opportunities for fun in Clackamas County. Coming up this Saturday, besides the Malino Pancake Breakfast, is the Westland Old Time Fair. It is a great event, has a parade on Saturday and ends up down on the Tualatin River at the Willamette Park. And it truly is an old-time fair, and lots of fun things there, carnivals and skydivers and water ski show, etc. That's Saturday and Sunday in West Lynn, or in the Willamette neighborhood of West Lynn. Also, well, in Lake Oswego, there is, well, wait a second, I'll finish with this Saturday. Friends of Historic Champoeg, their events and activities on this Saturday also have 1860s Games Day at Champoeg State Park. And that's not in Clackamas County, it's just over the border in Marion County on the Willamette River. But the history of Champoeg is certainly intertwined with the history of Clackamas County as well. So that's this Saturday. And then all month long, there is the 10th Annual Water Lily Festival and Invitational Art Show. And that's at Hughes Water Gardens, which is on Stafford Road just outside of Wilsonville. And it includes tours of ponds and gardens and as well as art displays. So if you're thinking of a pond or water garden, this is an opportunity to see a lot of possibilities. In Lake Oswego are the Moonlight and Music concerts every Sunday from 6 to 7:30, and those are at Millennium Plaza Park in downtown Lake Oswego. And also on July 26th in Lake Oswego are the Movies in the Park, and I know there are other, I know Sandy also has Movies in the Park. Let's see, Sandy Summer Sounds, Concerts, Movies, and Performances every Sunday. Shakespeare in the Park, this is in Sandy. Brewgrass Festival, and anyway, whole bunch of things going on in Sandy. And you can read about these events, and I think some others as well, on the Clackamas County Government Channel Reader Board, which runs from 5 p.m. to 5:30 on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And otherwise, check out the community newspapers and just keep in mind that every weekend and most weekday evenings, there are opportunities all over Clackamas County to participate in community events, and lots of them are really, really fantastic. So with that, yes.
When you were reading those off, I realized I forgot to mention on August 1st is the monthly Commissioner Roundtable meeting right here in this building, DSB, in the auditorium at 5:30. And that runs from 5:30 to 6:30. And so all's invited to bring whatever kind of issue you want to talk about, and bring it to at least one commissioner. I believe Commissioner Damon will be on vacation that week, so she won't be able to attend. So I maybe encourage another commissioner or two to see if they could make that and join us. Lastly, I just want to speak to the 15 units per acre that Commissioner Bernard, and I think what I agree with the Commissioner Bernard is choice and variety. And when you have a threshold of 15 units per acre, though you can do some flex, it does limit the option of, the number and the variety of the market as far as how large a lot, the suburban lot, and really the American dream of having a 2-car garage and a decent-sized backyard for kids to play. And it just really limits those choices by literally with that kind of a high of a limit. So I do agree with the choice and the variety.
Okay.
Not with
All
15
like
units per acre.
choice and variety. Okay. And with that, If there's nothing else before us, we are adjourned.